Hey folks, welcome back to Only the Best Fantasy Novels. My name is Robin, and today I want to talk about The Rising by Ian Tregillis. And this is the second book in his Alchemy Wars trilogy. And this dude missed the memo that middle books are supposed to suck, because this is even better than the first book. So, what is The Rising about? Jax, presumed destroyed, is now a free clacker, and he sets out into the wilderness in search of where he essentially stumbles on what he assumed was a legend among the clackers. Bernice, who in the former book she was disgraced and and thrown out of. She lost her job as the French spy master. She's been captured by the Tulips, but misfortune can quickly become opportunity with a bit of spit and luck, and that's precisely what happens with her. And finally, we have Captain Longchamp. I know I'm pronouncing that wrong because this is French. It probably has some fancy pronunciation to it, but I'll go with Longchamp because I don't know better. Anyway, Captain Longchamp is tasked with the defense of Marseille in the west, and this is a fight where he faces a fight both internally and externally, as he has to figure out a way to defend against the clackers, which is impossible, and he also has to fight against a population that refuses to that refuses to do all they can to survive this fight. But this is a fight that needs to be fought. So those are the three main POVs and kind of what's going on in this book. And honestly, this book made me happy that last year I decided to just participate in more read-alongs. Like, by the way, this is a read-along I'm taking part with, along with the folks over at the Library of Alexandria. By the time I get around to posting this video, it'll be long over. But either way, taking part in read-alongs was definitely one of my smart ideas, because it introduced me to this series which I would never have picked up otherwise. And Tregillis is a spectacular writer, able to put together it's just such a brilliant story of like war and freedom and hope, in such a short page count, in such a gripping, creative way. Like, I'm barely 2 books into this guy's backlist, and I've already decided I need to read everything he's written. He's one of those artists. He's one of those artists that you just need to, you need to get your hands on. Like, this is alternate history, done so brilliantly that just the imagination of the world and the vision that he presents by itself is compelling enough to read this book, without him having spectacular characters, an extremely engaging story, and just a fast-paced, action-packed story to tell at all of that, which is exactly what he delivers in Spade through this. So let's just get straight into the characters. So in the first book, I wasn't too much a fan of Bernice, but in this one, she really, like, I really enjoyed her POV, because now she's out of her comfort zone, essentially. She's a prisoner of war, effectively. And this is her spy out in the cold arc, essentially. Like if you're a fan of, like, or if you read thrillers and that kind of thing, you know there's always that one thing, there's always that one story arc where, like, the master spy for the government, he gets bored and he has to go on the run from his own government and that kind of thing. This is her arc for that, and this plays out in pretty much the way those stories always play out. Whereas with the key difference, whereas those stories tend to end with the spy managing to return to grace, return to their former life, like vindicate themselves or even topple the agency that born them or whatever it is. In this case, this arc serves a purpose of putting Bernice in a position where she was able to learn critical information, where her whole objective is to get access to critical information that she could never get as simply the Talleyrand. And that has huge ramifications for this, not just for this story, but for the entire story moving forward. Like, I'm a sucker for these kind of stories, so I really enjoyed her POV. And if it wasn't for one of the other ones, she would have easily been my favorite POV of this book. The second POV I have to talk about naturally is Jax, because this was actually a very fascinating story to read about with Jax. So Jax has his freedom, and he can now do what he wants. Everyone thinks he doesn't exist anymore. So he's in the wilderness. But you have to remember that Jax, he comes from a group of people that essentially they have no culture, no history, no society, nothing of that. He's never known anything except servitude. So what does he fall back on? What are his groundings? What are his foundations? Like if I, for example, if I were in that kind of situation and I got my freedom, I could think to go back home. I could think to find others or others like me, that kind of thing. But for him, those things don't exist. So it's unsurprising that his story, as a result, involves quite a bit of flailing around and just kind of finding himself and falling into different situations before he does stumble into a very very interesting one that, as all those as those situations always tend to be, seem a little bit too good to be true. There's that. And then finally, the highlight POV of this book, the one who absolutely made it for me, is Captain Longchamp, which, once again, I know I'm pronouncing wrong, don't sue me. But yeah, Captain Longchamp. He, like, his story was just the most action-packed, intense one, because of course he's right at the forefront of the war. He's in charge of the defense. He has to wrestle against a population that doesn't really want to assist him and do their part, for the most part, and he has to figure out how to mount an impossible defense. So, like, and in addition to that, he's just this grizzled, tired kind of career soldier. So, like, his story was just fun to read. He's just an engaging character just from his sheer personality, and his story, just given everything that happened, it was just engaging, fun, really amusing to read. Like, his POV is just full of snark and sarcastic humor. Like, he's that kind of guy. Definitely one of the standout POVs of the entire series to me, so far at least. And of course, that's kind of putting all of that together. This book somehow results in like a pretty intense read, one that never really, like, once it gets going, it never really stops. Like I said, Ian Tregillis missed the memo that middle books are supposed to be slow or suck or that kind of thing. Like, this book, it just had plenty of danger, it had plenty of twists and turns, it just had a lot of horror and these kind of things. This book would have your blood pressure up and just keep you hooked and engaged from start to finish. Like, when I was done with it, I couldn't be. I kind of hated the fact that I had to wait an entire month to read the final book, and I suspect that's a feeling that many of the people in the read along shared with me. But all in all, it's just a really good book. Like, it does everything that a sequel / middle book is supposed to do. It sets the stage for the coming finale. It expands on the world. It expands on the lore. It positions the characters where they need to be. It gives us a little more exposure to the characters we've known so far. It serves as a transformation point for them to become the people they need to be for the final conflict and all of that. And it does it all in a engaging, compelling story that, once again, was just so hard to put down. So yeah, like, this was just a really good sequel. It's shocking. It's really shocking that, given how good these books are, more people don't talk about them. Like, I actually searched on YouTube to see if I could find anything about this series, and no one's talking about them, which is shocking. Don't drop the ball on this. Like, if you take no other recommendation from this channel, this is a series to try. Yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on The Rising. I'm excited to get to the final book in about a month when the read along gets there. And I guess that's all for now. If you've made it this far into the video, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.